Hi guys, it's me Chazza HD and welcome to this very special live stream where right now at 4 AM UK time here in the UK I am going to be doing a very special stream where I will be doing a practice 2 watch along for, of course, the first Grand Prix of 2019, the 2019 Australian Grand Prix, and I cannot wait to get into this because after watching the cars in practice 1, I can tell you now there is plenty more to come from these cars today. They weren't pushing anywhere near as hard as they really could in practice 1, and I cannot wait to watch along practice 2 with you guys in about an hour's time from now. Now, the reason I'm going live an hour before the start of practice 2 is because we're going to look at what happened in practice 1 and also look at a couple other things that have happened in the past day or two, considering I haven't done a live stream in almost a week. So we are going to do a bit of a build up to practice 2. Now, two things I need to let you guys know that you need to bear in mind when it comes to me during this stream. One, I do have a sore throat to the point where at times it does hurt to speak. So please do bear that in mind if I have to cough or, clear my throat or anything like that. And also, I'm not going to lie, I am knackered. I am absolutely knackered, but it is, of course, for a good cause. And also, for everyone in the chat, let me know where you are watching this from. So I can know, if you're watching this, say, in the day or at night or in the middle of the night or, early in the morning. For me, again, it is 2 minutes past 4 UK time. Very, very early in the morning. I haven't actually slept. I've been up since 12 PM UK time yesterday. So I have been up a long time, but I've been so excited to do this stream and to watch practice. But, again, it is for a good cause. I don't care that I'm tired. I'm going to do this stream and I'm sure going to have plenty of fun. But yeah, in the chat, let me know where you're watching this from. And also, no matter where you are in the world, hopefully you're doing well. And also, if the timing is not favorable for you, then thank you very much for being so dedicated to watch this and also watch Formula 1 at whatever time it is, wherever you are at. But now, before I get into reviewing how the teams did in practice 1, let's now look at the results and who finished where in FP1. So the top 10 is Lewis Hamilton fastest from Sebastian Vettel in second. Third is Charles Leclerc, very, very close to top 4 or 5. Verstappen is fourth, Bottas is fifth. Then Kimi Räikkönen is P6, Kvyat, very impressive in P7. Gasly is P8, Magnussen is in P9, and Hülkenberg is in P10. And then the bottom 10 is Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Albon, Sainz, Stroll, Perez, Ricciardo, Norris, Kubica, and Russell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please look at the gap between the Williams cars and, say, Carlos Sainz. That is a massive gap, and that will only get bigger as the weekend goes on. Trust me, they are so bad. But now, let's go on to, first off, the top teams. So Mercedes were fastest of Lewis Hamilton in practice 1. Now, after watching all of the cars, to me, the Mercedes did not look the best car out there. It really did not. I think they were pushing a bit harder than, say, Ferrari. Maybe they weren't pushing harder than Red Bull, but they definitely were not pushing, or they were definitely pushing harder than Ferrari. Ferrari have a lot more to show than Mercedes do. But you could see on board of that car that it's not a horrible car to drive, but it's a lot more on edge compared to, say, the Ferrari. The Ferrari looks very comfortable to drive. The Mercedes car doesn't. It doesn't look as comfortable to drive. It does look very fast, and it looks like one of those cars that, once you get it settled down and get the lap time out of it, it's going to be a very good lap time, but it doesn't look all that comfortable compared to Ferrari and even Red Bull. So even though there's probably pace in that car, they're not looking amazing so far. But of course, we've only had one practice session in 2019, so there's plenty more time for them to improve that car. Moving on now to Ferrari, who to me looked as though they were saving quite a bit. Maybe for practice 2 or later in the weekend, but to me, for me, Ferrari look as though they have the best car. It looks very comfortable to drive. And as we saw last year, and I think Ferrari will continue to do this, they tended last year to be very conservative on a Friday, and then on the Saturday they were super quick, and then on Sunday they were still quick, but Sundays were not their best days compared to, say, Saturday. So I think this Ferrari car is the best car right now. It's not a massive gap between them and Mercedes, but I think the Ferrari car is looking slightly ahead at the moment from what I saw of the onboard T-cams and how the Ferrari was looking around the track. It just did look a more comfortable, as I said a minute ago, a more comfortable car to drive. Hopefully, in practice 2, we will get to see maybe a bit of raw Ferrari pace, but they don't have to show it, and I don't think they really will. I think they're going to wait until practice 3 and then qualifying tomorrow to show how quick they really are. Now let's go on to Red Bull, who, with their car, they looked quite impressive. I don't think they are right there with Ferrari, but I will say I don't think they're that far off Mercedes. I don't think they're going to be on the second row of the grid. Most likely they might be able to sneak a 4th place of, say, Max Verstappen, but I don't think they're that far off. It looked very, very good around the fast corners. In the final sector, where it's all about aerodynamics, they looked as though they did have probably the best car in that part of the track. So looking good for Red Bull, and they were relatively close on all the sector times during the lap. So hopefully for Red Bull that continues. But yeah, they are looking, for me, pretty good so far and pretty impressive. And I thought, after what I saw at testing, to be honest, guys, I thought they were pretty impressive, but they didn't really get to show it on that final day of testing because of some issues. So nice to see that Red Bull are right there. I don't think they're absolutely going to be right there in qualifying, but they're going to be, I think, a bit closer than they were, say, 12 months ago. So very good to see there from Red Bull. But before I go on to the midfield, guys, I just want to look in the chat right now, and also I want you guys to comment down below. What have you thought of the teams so far and how they performed in practice 1 with the top teams? Were you impressed by any of the top teams or any of the drivers? Let me know in the live chat right now, and I'll try to read through as many comments as I possibly can. And also, before I do so, don't forget to subscribe for plenty more 2019 Australian Grand Prix content coming up on the channel. I will be live about, not quite this time tomorrow, but about 25 hours time, so almost this time tomorrow. I will be live for the qualifying watch-along, and then about 2 or 3 hours after that finishes, I will then be live for the qualifying review, and then we've got the race watch-along, the race review. We have plenty of Australian Grand Prix content coming up, so don't forget to subscribe for more content like that. At the bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, clicking subscribe, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But I also just want to announce this quickly. I was intending on doing an Australian Grand Prix preview video. That has now been cancelled. The reason I've cancelled it is for 3 reasons. 1, I don't have enough time to actually do the video. 2, my throat is quite sore and I want to save it for later parts in the weekend so my throat doesn't die out by Sunday. And also, I really want to come up with a format that I'm happy with and something that's not rushed. So I think I'm going to take my time in working on that. Maybe there'll be one for Bahrain, we'll have to see, but I'm not going to really properly upload it, a preview for a Grand Prix weekend, until I am happy with what I have come up with. But I think now I will now go to the chat to see what you guys think of practice so far in Australia. Gotti says, I'd say no surprises about what everyone's expected. Yeah, there's no real surprises at the top. Mercedes, you could argue, looks slightly better than we maybe were expecting, but this is a good Mercedes track, so there you go. JB says, I've been a bit disappointed in McLaren. Yeah, they weren't that great, and the car aerodynamically did not look that good in practice 1. Hopefully they improve. Eric says, I think Williams is a joke, and Renault we don't know yet because team principal said they had technical issues, so could not push the car. Yeah, they had some kind of electronic issue on Hülkenberg's car. We'll get onto that in a moment. Let me take a look at some more comments. Hello to Nib, who's in the chat. He is, by the way, at the track. Hopefully he's having a great time at Albert Park. He says, was only at turn 11 during FP1, and Red Bull and Ferrari looked mega compared to everyone else through there. Walking around everywhere in FP2. When I was at testing, in the properly quick corners, Ferrari and Red Bull did also look very, very good. So, and I know they're different tracks, but in terms of impressing you with who has a good car, it's kind of similar. Crystal Racing says Alpha have something in hand. Hopefully they do. Mario Master says Ferrari look good, Mercedes look fine, Red Bull also look good, normal really. Yeah, I see your point. Mugan Mafia, so I assume you guys are from the UK. Me, yes, I am from the UK, and it is 4:15 in the morning. There are a couple other people who I know in the chat are from the UK, but yeah. Right, let me find some more comments. JB says, good morning, Chaz. I should probably get some sleep because I got school. Yeah, you probably should. You probably should not be still awake, but there you go. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Right, let me find, I don't know, a couple more comments, and then we'll get into the midfield. A very, very tight midfield, by the way. The times were so close from Räikkönen in P6 down to, I think, Sainz in P14. Very, very close in the midfield, and that is great to see. Muga Mafia, who I assume is watching from the United States, asks, how did Haas look? ESPN was showing college basketball instead. Haas didn't look that bad. They didn't look amazing, but they didn't look that bad. They look pretty good so far, but nothing, special. JB says he thinks Haas could be fourth fastest this weekend because Haas are normally good around here. Maybe. Niblo says, or Nib says, Williams weren't pushing the car whatsoever, and when they did, it looked like a dog. Exactly what I saw at testing. It is a terrible, terrible car. Eric says the in-car video from Mercedes makes it seem that the car is very tight and does not roll well. And the final comment that I'll read out before I go on to the midfield is from Crystal Racing, who says, McLaren have a long way to go to sort themselves out, but at least they're not in Williams' state. that is a plus. They could be in a worse state, which is Williams, who look as though they might not even be within 107% of pole position in qualifying, even though they'll probably be able to race because they're not dramatically slow for the entire weekend. But still, their car looks god awful. It really, really does. But anyway, let's move on now to the midfield. Renault in practice one didn't look that great, but I don't think they really were pushing. To me, it seemed as though they had a bit of fuel on board their car, on board both cars really. And Hülkenberg had some kind of electronic issue, which had him in the pits for, I think, was it 20 or 25 minutes, something like that. So Renault have a lot more to show than they did. But even on higher fuel, the Renault still looked pretty good. So once they really start to push the car in the qualifying simulations in the afternoon in Melbourne, I'll be interested to see how they're looking, because when they had a bit more fuel on board, it didn't look that bad of a car. Talking off McLaren, let's go on to them now. Yeah, when I looked at their onboards, they didn't look that good. McLaren, the car didn't really seem to be gripping up properly. Like other cars, like the Haas or the Renault even, it seemed to have a lot of understeer. It wasn't that good under braking. The McLaren does not look that good. It's not a surprise. We didn't think they were that good anyway. They look as though they are ahead of, say, Racing Point and Williams. They're definitely ahead of Williams. There's no doubt about that. But they're probably ahead of Racing Point. But yeah, they don't look that good. They really don't look that good. And I don't think they will be seriously anyway competing for points at this Grand Prix, because in the past few years, this hasn't been the best track for McLaren. Now let's go on to Alfa Romeo, who, even though with Kimi Räikkönen, he was P6 and Giovinazzi was P11, maybe it was because I didn't see the lap, but the Alfa Romeo didn't seem to look as good as maybe the lap times suggest. Maybe that means they have a lot more to... there is a lot more to come from Alfa Romeo, but they didn't look to be that special on track. But again, I don't think I properly saw Kimi Räikkönen's fastest lap, but it's not really a surprise that Räikkönen is in the position he is in, because we said after testing that Alfa Romeo probably do pace-wise have the best car in the midfield just about, and it looks as though that is the case. So a good start for Alfa. And we'll see how they do in practice 2. Next up is Haas, who for me were looking pretty good. Maybe slightly better than I was expecting for them to look in practice 1. Grosjean did have some kind of issue. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he didn't get out of the garage for the first, I think, was it 25 minutes of the session. Kevin Magnussen had a pretty good session in P9, and the car again looked pretty good around some of the faster corners. So a good start for Haas, but I do want to see in practice 2 where they really fall in that midfield battle. Can they compete with Alfa Romeo and Renault if Renault push harder? Can they compete with them, or are they going to be competing with teams like Toro Rosso? I am very interested to see where they fall in that pecking order, and practice 2 should be a great indicator as to how good they are. But now let's move on from Haas and go on to Toro Rosso, who for me in practice 1, their car looked surprisingly good. I didn't think they were going to be that good in practice 1, but their car, even though at times it was a bit snappy, say when turning in, or had some oversteer at times, and Alexander Albon, did crash in practice one. I can't remember exactly how the incident happened. It was at the same place where Valtteri Bottas crashed in qualifying in 2018 at the same track, and he took the front wing off the car. But when the Toro Rosso car was pointing in the right direction and not, hitting a wall, it looked pretty good. And Danny Kvyat, by the way, who finished up in P7, he did that lap time on the medium compound tyre. And that's a harder tyre compared to everyone else in the top 10. So pretty good for Toro Rosso. They were probably the biggest surprise in practice one for me. I didn't think they were going to be that good. But still, with Albon crashing, it wasn't the best practice one that team has ever had. Now let's go on to Racing Point, who look about where I thought they would be. They look underdeveloped, not that quick. They look as though they're probably the second slowest team on the grid. And that's about where I thought they would be. Because, with the amount of developments they have brought to this weekend is about developing the car, understanding the car, and figuring out how to set it up and really get the pace out of it. They're not going to be that good this weekend. They should be better in Bahrain, but this weekend it's going to be about learning and not necessarily about, pace and getting points, unless it's a crazy Grand Prix on Sunday. But yeah, they're looking about where I thought they would be. And finally is the toothpaste team. And well, they're crap. So no surprises there. Now let me come to the chat. I want to hear what you guys think of the midfield. What teams impressed you? And also, what teams do you think are going to have a good first race? Do you think Haas can, like they normally do in Australia, will have a good first race in terms of pace and maybe a good result? Do you think that Renault are going to be right up there with Alfa Romeo? Do you think Toro Rosso could surprise? Let me know in the chat right now, and I'll try to read through as many comments as I possibly can. And let me now go to the chat because I want to see what you guys have to say. Tom Tao says Kvyat looks like he's trying to, looks like he's trying to get Gasly's seat. Yes, he was faster than Pierre Gasly in practice one, but let's calm down. I don't think Kvyat will replace Pierre Gasly at Red Bull. That would be an amazing story, but I don't think it will happen. Right, let me look at some more comments. Crystal Racing, Colgate versus 107% rule. Don Moody says, I do think Renault will be snappy. And Des Ericsson, great to see him, says, I'll watch Haas and Alfa Romeo with interest in these first races. Mario Master says, Haas's new gold shark fin is interesting looking. Yeah, they have made some modifications, I think, to that area of the car. So, yeah, looking interesting there for Haas. Right, let me find some more comments. Crystal Racing says F1 is becoming less known in the UK thanks to Sky having exclusive rights to live races except for the British Grand Prix. Indeed. I want to make this point though because I've been wanting to make this for quite a long time. I know people are very frustrated about Formula 1 going behind the paywall in the UK and in most of Europe. This is the thing though, I'm not against it going behind a paywall, but this is the thing, I'm against it going behind the paywall right now. If you're going to pay money for something, you have to pay money for a product which is good enough for the money you're paying per month or per year. Formula 1 in the past 5 years has not been good enough to pay that much money for. if it was the Formula One of 2010 or 2012 and that was on a more consistent basis, then I would say, you know what, you probably do have the grounds to put it behind a paywall because it's entertaining enough to worth paying for. But if you have a 2015-esque season or even a 2017 or 2018-esque season, the grounds are not there yet to actually put it behind a paywall because it's not quite entertaining enough to pay money for. You have to make it properly entertaining on a consistent basis if you're going to successfully get people to pay money to watch Formula One. It's not the right time for Formula One to go behind a paywall. If Formula One, say in the 2020s, F1 becomes one of the most entertaining sports in the world for the entire of the 2020s, if that was the case, then F1 being behind a paywall would make a lot more sense, and would make sense because it would be worth paying money for. But with the F1 we've had in the last 5 years, it's not worth paying for because it hasn't been entertaining enough. So there you go, that's my thoughts on it. If we get consistent, seasons like 2009, 2008, even 2007, 2010, we get seasons like that in a row, then I don't mind it being behind a paywall because you are then paying for a very good product. But if you're paying for a product that is producing a 2015 or 2014 or 2016 like season, then it shouldn't be behind a paywall. So there you go. Right. Let me find a couple more comments. I also want to address comments by Cyril Abitbol, the Renault team principal. Eric is asking something about the Renault team principal and his comments about the power unit. It's nothing to do with that. But it's something that he said after practice one, which I really want to just talk about quickly because I think it is a very silly thing for him to say. Right. Eric asks, Chaz, do you believe Renault team principal on his interview saying they have made major gains on engine performance? I don't believe him. I think they have made gains, but not as much as Honda, for example. Cyril tends to overplay things, I think mainly for PR, and it doesn't work out for him. It tends to really backfire, and he shouldn't do it. He should try to keep his mouth shut, but that's the way he is. Right, I will find one more comment and then I'll go on to this comment by Cyril Abitbol. Crystal Racing, in regards to Sky F1 and F1 going behind a paywall, says the trouble is F1 will never be a sport that consistently provides exciting races that constantly hits 2010 or 2012 standards. It's frankly impossible unless you make the teams run spec parts. I understand what you mean when it comes to races, like having consistent great races, but in terms of consistent great seasons, I think you can have consistent great seasons. Look at Formula One from 2005 until 2012. It was so exciting. Every season had plenty of overtaking, great battles, some of the best drivers we've ever seen. If we had that consistently, and we did for a time have consistently great seasons, great title fights, overtakes, all of that, if we had that on a consistent basis like we did back then again, it would be worth paying for. But with the way F1 has been in the last 5 years, it's not worth paying for until we get back to, say, 2008, 2009, 2010 levels. But before I go on to something very sad, and you know what it is, I just want to analyse comments by Cyril Abitbol, who after practice one was very critical of the B teams currently in Formula One because I believe on Sky F1 he was asked about Toro Rosso's great performance, and then he was saying F1 should try to limit how B teams perform, and it's a dangerous thing in Formula 1. To me, that screams excuses, because, you know, Alfa Romeo are a B team, Haas are kind of a B team or a C team, whatever you want to call them, but they do have a technical partnership with Ferrari. Yes, you have Toro Rosso, but you have to remember, this is Renault, who have plenty of money and are a works team. They don't have an excuse to lose to Alfa Romeo, Haas and Toro Rosso, who are not... Well, Alfa Romeo, you could argue, are a works team, but they're not really. They're not really in control of their own destiny, and they're basically Sauber with a different name. But Renault have to beat those teams, and for me, when Cyril says that, it screams excuses and also screams our car is not as fast as we want it to be because of B teams. I'm sorry, but I don't know, maybe do a better job, maybe beat Alfa Romeo, Haas and Toro Rosso a bit more than you maybe were at times in 2018. Get on with it. Get on with it. Stop making excuses after one practice session. Because if you do that, this season is not going to go down well for you. If you're making that excuse of, oh, well, B teams have too big an influence. You're Renault. You're a works team. You're the biggest, you know, thing that's come out of France in F1, basically. Stop making excuses and get on with it and design and develop a good enough car to finish in P4 in a better way than you did last year. I just need to make that point, because to me that just screams excuse. I don't know what you guys think, but for me that's just an excuse. I don't think that is a legitimate claim. Yes, they do gain from having a technical partnership, but if you're a works team with plenty of money, you can't complain. I'm sorry, you cannot complain. So, yeah, that is my stance on that. But now I must go to something that is quite sad. Now, I believe it was this time yesterday, we had very sad news that Charlie Whiting, who was the FIA/F1 race director, sadly passed away at the age of 66 in Melbourne. Very, very sad, because this guy has been an integral part of Formula 1, not only before he joined the FIA and became the race director for Formula 1, and the guy, you know, inspects the tracks and is very, very important when it comes to inspecting the safety of certain tracks, but he was a mechanic at Brabham. He's been such an integral part of this sport. To lose him in this way is such a shame. It was so sad, and I have to say it's the worst way to start a weekend off in Formula 1. You don't want to start off a weekend like this, where someone so important to this sport is took from us so suddenly. It's such a shame, and I think in the lead up to practice 2, because I didn't mention it in my recorded F1 2019 season preview, which, by the way, guys, is in the description down below. Go and check that out. Plenty of you, by the way, enjoyed it, so thank you very much. I didn't manage to actually post a tribute on that, so I want to use this stream to pay tribute to him, because he's a very, or was, unfortunately, a very, very integral part of this sport, and he will be missed for sure, because he has such great relationships with the drivers kind of with him, even though there were, you know, a couple spark ups with certain drivers like Sebastian Vettel. He was kind of like the drivers' mate. He could talk to them, they could, you know, be open with Charlie, and he would, you know, be very honest. He'd never be biased, which for someone like him to be in that role and to never have his integrity questioned and to be such a fair person in his role, it shows you just how good he was in that role as race director and head steward at Formula One races. And it's such a shame that that this has happened, because he's never going to be replaced in this role. He is undoubtedly the best person that will ever be in this role. He was so good at what he did. There have been times where I have disagreed with viewpoints he's had about, track limits, for example, at that whole 2017 US Grand Prix. I was very critical of him and his opinion, but it's just an opinion. And I think the way he dealt with incidents like that was very professional, very correct, and very calm. He just explained his view and explained the position of the FIA in again, a very fair way. And even though if you disagreed with it, you cannot argue that the way he operated in his role was very professional. Even if you disagreed with certain ways he applied rules and stuff like that, you cannot disagree that this guy was supremely professional in his role. And I think from everyone in the F1 community, Formula One, and also here at Chatter HDF1, whether that be the Discord server or every single subscriber that I have, or anyone watching right now, I think I can speak for all of us in saying rest in peace to Charlie Whiting. And of course, our thoughts are with his family and friends at this very difficult time, considering just how dramatic it all happened yesterday. So rest in peace to this guy. Such a great guy. And he will be missed. There is no doubt about it. He will be desperately missed. And I think I have paid enough tribute to this guy, who, again, is never really going to be properly replaced. He was that good at his role. I don't think we're ever going to have a proper replacement. No one will ever come close to Charlie Whiting in terms of professionalism, quality, clarity. He was just so good in this role, and it's no wonder he was in that role for 22 years, I think it was, or 23 years. He was so good, and again, he will be missed. But guys, before we move on to slowly transitioning into the Practice 2 watch-along part of this stream, where we're going to watch along Practice 2, let me know what you think of this sad news, and also make sure to put RIP in the chat and also the comment section, and also press F in the chat and the comment section to pay your respects. And yeah, if you have any tributes, make sure to put them in the chat or the comment section, and I'll try to reply to or read as many as I can, because I want you guys and your tributes to be heard for the world to hear. So let me go through some tributes. Also, can I just say this? I don't want to sound mean, but I know some people are like, oh, who's going to replace him? I'm going to be honest, I don't really think you should really be thinking that. I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't think, but it's not really the time to be asking that. It has been announced it's going to be, I think, it's an Australian guy who I think is a steward in Australian V8 supercars. But to be honest, I don't think one of the first things we should even think about is who is going to replace him. I think the first thing we should think about is what's happened, how great he was, and, his friends and family. Right. Let's now read through your tributes. Dixon 1 WP. We will miss Charlie. RIP FIA Master. Bristol Racing. says, Charlie's death was out of the blue. Apparently he was doing the jobs of 3 people simultaneously. Hashtag rest in peace. Scotty says, Eric Boulier would be a perfect replacement. I don't think he would. If they could somehow get Laurent Marquis out of Ferrari, which is not going to happen, but if they could, then he would be a good replacement. But no one is ever going to properly replace him. He was so good in his role. And Crystal Racing has named the person who is replacing him for this weekend. It's only for this weekend. It is Michael Massey, I think is how you pronounce it. If I'm wrong, sorry, but there you go. Crystal Racing says, amazing man, always replied back to drivers and teams with full detailed answers in a polite and forthright manner. Exactly. Eric says, very well said, Chaz. Thank you very much. I don't know if F1 can put someone to replace him that will be as unbiased and as fair to the drivers instead of being too harsh with the rules. He was a great mediator, exactly, as I was saying. For someone who worked in that role for so long, for him to be so fair and balanced was such a great thing that doesn't normally happen, say, in other sports. Right. Let me take a look through some more comments. Mario Master says, Charlie Whiting developed the Halo, I believe, something that potentially saved Charles Leclerc's life. Exactly. Donka Toy Truck says, every time a driver walks away from a major accident, we can thank Charlie. Exactly. Stephen says, what time is practice, lads? Practice starts in 18 minutes time. So we are coming up to practice 2. But let's just first pay tribute to this great man. Crystal Racing, again, says, none of us have the knowledge to know who should replace Charlie full time. I don't think they're really... I can't think of anyone who could replace him full time right now, to be honest. Tonka Toy Truck says, halos, wheel restraints, neck restraints, nose cone, side impact, cockpit, etc. Yeah, that is... A lot of that has his influence. And he was such an integral part to the safety of Formula One. Such a smart guy. You know, he'd been there during the bad days where cars were so dangerous and so quick. He knew well what areas Formula One had to improve when it came to safety. And he helped massively. He really did help massively. If he, never went for that role, I'm not sure safety really would have come on as much as it did, because again, he was such a great person in that role, and he really brought safety in Formula One forward into a new era. And it, the way it is now, you could argue Formula One is too safe. I think we are getting close to the stage of getting too safe. But, look at Spa 2018. If the halo is not on that Sauber, Charles Leclerc is no longer with us. And that is something you don't even want to even think about. But because of people like Charlie Whiting, who have great knowledge and know exactly what they're doing, they're able to make those innovations and make those progressions in safety and able to save drivers' lives like Charles Leclerc. And as I'm now about to move on, as we're now 15 minutes away from practice 2, I just want to say again, rest in peace. You are one of the best people that's ever worked in Formula One, and you will be missed so, so much. But now I am going to start building into practice 2. So let me just get a picture up of the Mercedes. Here you go. Let me just fiddle around with it so I can get it the right. There you go. So guys, for practice 2, what are we expecting? Who do you think we need to watch out for in practice 2? Who do you think is going to have the pace? Who do you think is going to push a bit harder than they did in practice 1? Do you think Ferrari are going to push a bit harder than they did in practice 2? Or than they did in practice 1, sorry? How do you think practice 2 is going to go? Who do you think is going to impress us? I think Ferrari will push a bit harder. I think Renault will definitely push a lot harder than they did in practice 1. But one team that I'm interested to really look out for is Alfa Romeo, because I didn't really get a good enough look at the Alfa Romeo in practice 1. So I do want to get a look at that car during practice 2, if we can get a look at that car. And by the way, I just want to say, before I go on to another picture soon enough, thank you guys for coming along. 120 people watching live. It might not sound a lot, but at this time of the morning, which is 13 minutes to 5 in the UK, aka way too early, thank you for coming along at this time. I know if you're in Europe or in the UK or even on the east coast of the United States or even in Canada, it is very either late or very early in the morning. So thank you for your dedication for coming along. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I will have plenty of Australian Grand Prix content coming up. For example, this time tomorrow, I'll be live for the qualifying watch-along from Melbourne, Australia. And I should also say, not only on the east coast of the United States, but also in the central of the United States and also on the west coast, it is pretty late. So thank you guys for your dedication in coming along. It's great to have you along as always. And also thank you to a couple of people saying about my tribute, saying it was nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was. I'm going to admit it did hit me pretty hard because, you know, he's such a great guy in F1 that he was one of those people that you could never imagine F1 happening without him, because he's been such an integral part, as I've said plenty of times, but such a constant in Formula 1. You could never imagine Formula 1 without him, you know, doing the light sequence or doing the driver briefings or being the head steward. That's why it did hit me pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. But now I'm going to try and get up another picture if I can, and I've found one. It's one of the Red Bull. So let me get that up on screen. The Red Bull looks beautiful as ever in Melbourne. And here it is. And here is Max Verstappen at work at turn 1, I believe that is. I think that's the exit of turn 1. Let me look at the chat to see what you guys are saying. Tonka Toy Truck, will there be a watch along for practice 2? Yep, that's exactly what this is. This is a practice 2 watch along. This isn't just a random during the night stream with me rambling about stuff. This is a practice 2 watch along. So in about 10 minutes, when practice 2 gets underway, we'll be watching along practice 2 together for the entirety of the session. He says practice 3 on me, but with practice 2, so yeah, I'm going to be, you know, doing the watch along for practice 2, and then I'll do about a 30-minute review of what we saw, and then I'll come to the end of the stream because I'll probably be pretty much dead in terms of being tired. And I'll want to go sleep by, say, 7 or 7:30 a.m. UK time. So, yeah, that is the plan. But with practice 3, no, I'm not going to do a watch-along for that. I'm only doing this really as a special watch-along. This is only because it's the first race. I might do one for Monaco because practice at Monaco takes place on a Thursday. But also, if this goes down really well and gets, you know, plenty of people watching and plenty of support, maybe I'll make this a permanent thing on the channel. Let me know in the comments or the chat. But my current plan is to only do it now, and then maybe I'll do it at Monaco because Monaco practice is on a Thursday. Yeah, that is the current plan. Also, this is a bit of a test stream, if you don't know, because I do want to test out my new running order, I guess you could call it, for 2019, because I know some of you, when you watched the watch-alongs last year, complained that you didn't know, if you tuned in late or at a random point, you didn't know who was in what position when I was commentating. So I'm trying to fix that by having a running order going along the bottom of the screen. So for example, if I just try and pull this up a minute. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up a second. So there you go. That is what is called a lower third. And then, oh no, put that there. There you go. So that is basically the plan for practice 2. Every, I don't know, 20 minutes, I will update this running order with what the actual running order is. This is just a team by team running order until practice 2 actually starts. But that is the plan with practice 2 and really qualifying in the races. This is my plan to get around that issue. And I am going to kind of test myself out to see how I get on with updating the order every, again, 15 to 20 minutes I'm aiming to do. But for qualifying, I'm going to try and update the order every, I don't know, once during a say Q1 and Q2 and Q3, and then obviously I'll update it at the end of Q1, Q2 and Q3, and then during the race I'll try to update it as many times as I can, but I can't promise it will always be up to date to the absolute second. And also I'm going to try and add a lap counter for the race in, say, the top left or top right of the screen. That's what I'm going to try and do for the race. And also for qualifying, I might put, say, Q1 at the top left or top right, so you guys know that it is Q1, Q2 or Q3. So yeah, that is my plan. Let me get rid of that. And let's move on to another picture. But let me know, guys, in the chat, what do you think about that? And again, let me know your thoughts as practice 2 is about to start. Practice 2 starts in 6 minutes time. So let me know what you guys are thinking going into practice 2. Who are you looking out for? Who do you think is going to impress? And who do you think really needs to show a bit more in practice 2? I really want to see what Ferrari can do. I don't think they're going to push massively hard. They don't need to, let's be honest. But yeah, I hope that they can push a bit harder than, say, you know, they normally do. Here is a picture of both McLarens at Albert Park, looking pretty good in the sunshine. In terms of the livery, but in terms of the handling of the car, they're not looking that good, I'm going to be honest. Right, let me take a look at the chat. Great to see 136 people watching live. Great to see you all here. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there by clicking subscribe, of course, and then click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And hit the notifications bell as the F1 intro has started playing. And I've seen, I think, was it Mario Master asked me what I thought of the new intro. I actually like it less, the actual visual stuff. I like it less than last year's. I know what they're going for, and it's still good, but I preferred last year's. So, yeah, there you go. Hello to Raphael, who says he's a big fan from Brazil. Or to Brazil. Hello to you. Tonka Toy Truck with the Haas puns. Haas or Haas, anyone seen Ericsson? Yes, I have. He is at Albert Park, as I think he is now an Alfa Romeo test driver, I believe. Raphael says he is from Brazil. Kumar says start in 4 minutes. Indeed, practice 2 will be getting underway in 4 minutes time. Let's have a look. Some more comments. Jason, I'm not going to pronounce his second name because I'll probably destroy it. He is in Cape Town, South Africa, and it is currently 7 AM. So that's not too bad. It's early, but it's not too bad, is it? Could be worse. Could be 5 AM in the UK. Sabine says 6 AM in Austria. Of course, they're about an hour. Well, they are an hour ahead. Mugan Mafia, West Coast US is not bad. Almost 11 PM. Mary Sanchez says almost 10 o'clock in California. Yeah, it's not too bad in that part of the world, is it? Peter says 2 AM in Canada. Not great, but at least you got to watch practice 1 at a reasonable time. Raphael also points out 0.6 second of a difference from 6th place to 16th. That is very exciting. That really did get my juices flowing when I saw that, because it made me think of the possibilities on race day or even qualifying with how close it could be. Powell Novak or Nowak, probably Novak, says 12:55 AM in New Jersey. And Pedro says almost 1 in Tennessee. So lots of people here from the United States. I'm not really surprised because it's not massively bad timing in the US, is it? But I think I'm now going to throw this up. This is not the current running order, by the way. This is just this is just a running order of teams. Once we finally get some lap times on the board, I'll update the order with what it actually is, and we'll go from there. Hopefully it won't be too bad. And also the first time I'll update this is once everybody does set a lap time, unless someone has an issue. But yeah, once everyone sets a lap time, I will update that for the first time. And then after that, say every 15 minutes, I'll give it a quick update with, say, 2 or 3 places that are different. But let me know right now in the chat, guys, what are you thinking coming into practice 2? What are you looking forward to from these teams? Yeah, plenty of people from the Americas, Brazil, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Quebec in Canada. We have someone from India. Kumar is from Malaysia. It's a very good time of day in Malaysia. Basically lunchtime. But now, practice 2 at a bit more of a sunnier Albert Park than it was in practice 1 is about to begin. And if you watch the watch-alongs from last year, like last year, the plan is to throw up as many pictures on the screen as I possibly can during the watch-along. I'll try to put as many on the screen as I can. I can't promise it'll be every minute. It's not going to be every minute. It's probably going to be, I don't know, twice every 5 minutes at most. So I'll try to put as many on the screen as I can, but I can't promise it will be an absolute ton. As practice 2 has officially started, let me hold on a minute. Let me go to that picture. It's a bit better. Practice 2 has officially started, and Romain Grosjean is the first driver on track in the black and gold Haas, which in the sunlight does look a bit better than it did at the car reveal in mid-February. That was a long time ago, by the way. Yeah, he's now on the track and heading down to turn number 3. Hopefully, he is setting up immediately for a quick lap. Right, hopefully. Romain is, by the way, the only driver on the grid, or only driver out on the track right now. Everyone else is in the pit lane, so hopefully someone else comes out. Not really surprised though that Grosjean is the first out, because he didn't get out in the first half an hour practice 1. From what I saw, he was stuck in the garage with some kind of issue. So you'd expect him to be the first out on track. I'm surprised also that Nico Hülkenberg is not on the track, considering he missed about half an hour through a electrical issue, something like that. By the way, thank you to Don Moody for saying, Chaz, man, you sounding very good, by the way. Thank you very much for that. That does mean a lot to me, so thank you for that. But we are now 2 minutes into practice 2. By the way, if you're new to F1, practice on a Friday, we have 2 practice sessions, and those 2 sessions are 90 minutes long, and then you have a third practice session on a Saturday morning, which is an hour long, and then of course qualifying, which is an hour long, and then the race, which is normally an hour and a half long, or maybe 2 hours depending on what track it is. So practice 2 is an hour and a half long, and we're about 2 minutes in as Grosjean is on a quick one. And he now comes down to turn 3, and he is pushing pretty hard. Let's see what he can do. He is on the medium compound tyre, which is the yellow marked tyre, by the way, as he now comes through the very fast right-hander there and comes to the end of the first sector. Haas car looking pretty good. I can't really fault it for anything right now. Looks pretty nailed to the track. And turns in. Looks good. Doesn't hit the wall, which is obviously a good thing. And now comes to the end of the second sector and comes up to that very fast chicane. And the Haas looks pretty good. It does look pretty good. As he now comes up to the last 3 or 4 corners. Now is coming to a very fast right-hander before the penultimate corner. He went a bit wide into that corner. Now into the penultimate corner. Oh, it went a bit wide, but I think that's probably because the track is a bit dirty. And now comes onto the pit straight. And Romain Grosjean will do quite a slow lap. A 25.6. That can definitely be improved upon quite a lot. But for a first effort, not too bad from Romain. Right. Let me try, if I can, to find a picture. I'll put this one on the screen. This is a picture that illustrates the conditions at Albert Park. If you think I'm lying when I say it's a beautiful Friday afternoon in Melbourne, I'm about to prove you wrong. So just give me a second and I'll get this on the screen. There you go. And then if I just do that and then shrink that up a bit. So there you can see, very nice at Albert Park, and we should get some representative running. The conditions are nice and hot, and yeah, we should get some good running here in practice 2. Nib in the chat, my podcast mate and guest as always, who is at the track, says in the chat right now, not a cloud in the sky. You literally can't see a cloud. It looks absolutely beautiful. And I would definitely want to be out there in that weather. As Charles Leclerc, by the way, is now on the track in the Ferrari. And Sebastian Vettel is about to come out onto the track. They're just waiting for another minute. Leclerc is on his outlap as he comes through the first sector. And you've got Bottas. Valtteri Bottas is still in the pits with no wheels on his car, and it doesn't look like they're in a rush, so they're probably doing some setup work at the moment at the Silver Arrows as Leclerc is warming up for his hot lap. Probably a hot lap. I don't think it'll be an installation lap because they did it this morning. There's no point doing another one, as he's now into the final 3 corners. The fast right-hander now into the penultimate corner, and now on the slowest compound of tyre that we have for this weekend. He now lets it go through the last corner and now starts his lap and opens the DRS. This is not going to be a quick one from Leclerc compared to this morning. But it should be a good one still. Ferrari car had a bit of understeer in turn 1, but looked good enough. Down into turn 3. How does it look? Bang on. Oh, slight oversteer on the exit. Turn 4 is alright. The fast turn 5, I believe that is, looked well enough. And yeah, this isn't a great lap by Leclerc, but I think that's probably because Ferrari are not pushing that hard. As Charles Leclerc now comes into a very bumpy braking zone and is looking good so far. Now comes up, I believe, to turns number 11 and 12. Very, very fast chicane. If you get it wrong in the first part, then you'll run down 2. Turn 13 is completely ruined. You have to get that area of the track absolutely bang on. As he does. Gets turn 13 right. Oh, no, bit of oversteer. Turn 14, good enough. 15 looks good. There's a bit of traffic ahead, which is the McLaren of, I think it's Lando Norris. And he's now coming to the line. Charles Leclerc does a 1:26.6 and goes second behind Romain Grosjean. But he is on the hardest compound and is probably saving a lot of what he could do in that Ferrari. But it wasn't the greatest lap, to be honest. And yeah, on the exit of turn 3, he got a bit of oversteer on the exit curb. As now we're seeing Pierre Gasly on the medium compound. Red Bull looking very good. Moving around a bit though. As now coming up to turn 6, the end of the first sector. Looking good for Pierre Gasly. He'll want to be a bit quicker than P8. That's where he was in practice 1. He now comes through the bumpy turn 9 and 10. And now comes up to that very fast chicane. How does the Red Bull look through there? It looks pretty good. Not as impressive as Verstappen in the morning. As I'm watching Sky F1 by the way, and Martin Brundle has a great view of turn 1, and someone in the Alfa Romeo just went straight on at the first corner. Don't know who it was though. As Gasly now comes to the end of his lap on the medium compound. Great turning from the Red Bull into the final corner. And now goes fastest of all, a 1:25.4. That is for Pierre Gasly. And it was Kimi Räikkönen who went off at turn 1. Turned in, bit of correction oversteer, and went across the grass. So not that impressive from the Alfa Romeo. Right, I'm going to try and find a different picture now. And I've got a pretty good one, if I'm honest. By the way, the order running along the bottom, that is not the order right now. I'm waiting for all the teams to set a lap time, and then I'll update it with the actual order so far once it all settles down, because practice can be a bit weird in that way. Right. Hold on a minute. So there you go. That is one nice picture of the rear end of the Alfa Romeo, if I might say. Right, let me read the chat for a moment. Crystal Racing says Red Bull versus Renault. Renault. Cyril versus Horner will be feisty. After watching the Netflix series, that would be great, but I don't think realistically that is even possible this season. Pedro Mo asks, what do you think about Honda/Red Bull? Pretty good so far. Pretty good. Dan King says, need a leaderboard. Don't worry, once F1 sets a proper lap time, I will update that running order along the bottom with what the order actually is. So I'm just waiting for everyone to set a lap time because we still have, I think, 7 or 8 drivers that haven't set a lap time. So there's no point really updating it now because someone will go and set a lap time. So I'll wait till it all settles down. As Danny Kvyat is on the medium tyre, heading towards turn 11 at the end of the first sector, and is actually faster than Gasly in the middle sector. The Toro Rosso does look really good. It can be a bit snappy, but when you get it nailed down properly, it does look like a good car. Just a bit, I guess, difficult to drive at times. Kvyat looking good on his return to Formula 1 as he now comes through the penultimate corner and into the final corner. And where will Danny Kvyat go? He goes P3 because Romain Grosjean is now fastest on a 1:24.9. Kevin Magnussen smashes that and does a 1:24.4. But we still haven't had... Have we had the 2 Ferrari set a lap time? Yes, we have. They're in 9th and 12th, but haven't really set a proper lap time yet. Hamilton and Bottas and Hülkenberg are on outlaps. Verstappen, Ricciardo and Albon have not set a lap time. Gasly has now gone up to 2nd on a 1:24.7. As they're just showing Ricciardo's car here. There must be some kind of issue, or maybe it's just them changing something with the setup of the pedals or something like that. Nib in the chat, who's at the track by the way, saying that the Haas looked brilliant in turn 6. It does look good from what I've seen. It does look good. As Kevin, who's this? Is Kevin Magnussen, or I think Grosjean has... Is this Grosjean? I don't know. I think Grosjean has just come into the pits for a quick break. I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Romain Grosjean who has come into the pits. It is. So we have everyone out on track, I believe, except for Ricciardo and Verstappen, I think. As Hülkenberg on the hardest compound tyre looking pretty good in turns number 11 and 12. And let's see what this lap time does for him. Not looking bad from Hülkenberg on the hardest compound of tyre. Plenty of traffic though as he comes up to the penultimate corner, passes the, I think, the Alfa Romeo. Then there's a Haas just parked on the entry to the pit lane. And Hülkenberg will do a 1:25 something. No, it's a 1:26 flat. He goes up to P12, but is on the hardest compound of tyres. So do not read anything into that because it does not mean anything. As we're now seeing a replay of Lance Stroll going off at turn... Well, not properly going off at turn 3. Sebastian Vettel going off at turn 1. Car wouldn't turn into turn 1 and would rather have a bit of oversteer. And go onto the grass. So it's looking like the drivers are really starting to push it now, but the track's not really giving them the grip that they need. Kvyat is on another lap on the medium and is now coming into the penultimate corner and into the final corner. Toro Rosso does look really impressive to me, as he does on the medium compound at 24.7. Not bad. Not bad at all. I don't know what tyre Magnussen's on, but that's not a bad lap time. And again, if you are just joining, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I will be doing a qualifying watch along this time tomorrow for, of course, qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix. So don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe. And also, if you're wondering what's happening with the pecking order there, or the running order, I'm waiting for everyone to set a lap time until I actually alter it to the current standings, because still Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo have not set a lap time. As Anthony Hamilton is at Albert Park. I haven't seen him in quite a while, to be honest. Hello to Candice Diaz. Nib is laughing about how bad Williams are, as unfortunately I cannot commentate no longer for the next 2 minutes because Sky do what they usually do and go to an ad break. So we literally just have to sit around and wait for the next two or 3 minutes, because I am watching Sky F1 and they do tend to have ad breaks, about 3 of them in a practice session. So hopefully this one doesn't last too long. I really hope it doesn't, at least. But in that time, I will throw up a different picture of what's going on at the track. That Alfa Romeo picture on the screen is pretty good if you ask me, but we can always do better. This one is maybe not better, but still pretty good, I think. If we raise it like that, that looks pretty good to me. I think that's the 2 Mercedes cars. And also, this is one of the reasons why I don't do practice watch-alongs, is because Sky take ad breaks and there are moments where I can't actually watch the action on track. Don Moody says, Chaz, can you throw up a link to your page? Have a cup of tea. Thank you for that suggestion. I'll throw up a link to, if I can, I'll put a link in the chat to my channel page so you guys can subscribe. And also, you guys can join my fantasy league, because if you look in the bottom of the description, it'll say Chazza HD F1 F1 Fantasy League entry code. If you put that code in, you can join our league. So go ahead and do that. Right. Let me just copy and paste this. So there you go. Don't forget to subscribe right there. Make sure you click on that link. That goes to my channel page and then you can subscribe. But yeah, we wait for Sky F1 to stop showing us Fiats and new films coming in 2019. We wait for them to get back to what we really care about, and that's Formula One being back on our TV screens. Hopefully as well, when they get back from this ad, I can do the running order, because Hamilton was actually on his first lap and then ad break, because Sky are Sky. Tonka Toy Truck says Max has just done a 124.3. Okay. Crystal Racing wonder how long before anyone starts talking about Ferrari being illegal. Don't worry, it's coming. By Spain, you'll hear something most likely. And now it's a Mercedes 1-2. as we come back from the ads break. Hamilton 23.5. That's basically what he did in practice 1. And then Bottas is 2 or 3 tenths behind, and Verstappen is 7.5 tenths behind. So looking good so far for Mercedes. Is this Daniel Ricciardo? No, that's Hülkenberg. Right, I'm now going to do the running order now. For the first time, hopefully it won't be too bad. But make sure, if you are in the chat, to comment down below what you think of practice 2 so far. As I quickly try to update this. Hopefully no one, or we don't have a ton of cars, you know, going massively quicker than they normally are. Hülkenberg does a 125 flat, so goes P8, and that's good because he's 8th in my order originally. So thank you to Hülkenberg for making my job a bit easier. Right, this is going a bit better than I thought it would, as Verstappen now goes up to 2nd and ruins the whole order. Thank you, thanks for that, Max. So let me just quickly change that. The most difficult thing with this is, you know, with the lap times going all over the place, you can't, you know, keep up sometimes. I tried this at the Russian Grand Prix, you guys may remember, and it was an absolute disaster. Right, I'm coming close to the end now. Ferrari, by the way, the reason Ferrari are 13th and 16th is because they're not trying that hard right now. So if you're a Ferrari fan, then I don't know, if you're asthmatic, take a puff on your inhaler and calm down, because they're not going to be lining up in the midfield for Sunday's Grand Prix. As Hamilton is on a lap, I believe. Or is he just warming up? I don't know. Right, I'm almost done here. Hamilton goes even faster at 1:23.2. Really starting to show how quick that car can be. Bottas goes 2nd. Right, let me just complete the rear end of the grid before I get onto the others. So Russell, then Kubica, and then Ricciardo at the back, but Ricciardo's on an outlap, and then I'll have to quickly swap around again Bottas and Verstappen, because they seem to love trading 2nd place. So hold on. So there you go. There you go. So the running order is done. Even though Daniel Ricciardo is about to set a lap time and completely ruin it, it's done for now. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes until I do it again, because that took, what, 2-3 minutes? Takes a bit of time. Right. Now that you have to sit through that, I'll treat you to a picture of a flying Finn hard at work of his Mercedes. There you go. Mercedes are looking a bit better than I thought they would be, honestly. As Ricciardo now starts his fastest lap. Or not fastest lap, but starts now his first proper fast lap of practice 2. As he comes down now into turn number 3. And looking pretty good so far, but I don't think he's pushing that hard, to be honest. It is the first lap of practice 2. He doesn't want to bin it. He is 4 tenths behind Hamilton in the first sector. And now comes up to turn 9. And now through turn 10. And now he approaches the fast left, right chicane that you have to get right. And the Renault looks pretty good through there. Slight running wide on the exit of turn 12, but pretty good. 13, good enough. Hamilton, by the way, is about to smash his fastest lap. As Ricciardo now comes to the end of his lap, goes horribly wide at the penultimate corner. Has a good final corner, but this is not going to be a great lap time. It's probably going to put him in 13th. Oh, it's P11. Not bad for a first attempt. Here comes Lewis Hamilton on the medium compound tyre. What lap time is he going to do? It is... Well, he's had quite a bad final sector. He has got it down to 23.1, but I think that was going to be a superb lap if he had had a better final sector. Well then, come on Ferrari, let's see what you have. Let's see what you have, Ferrari, because, you know, a marker is currently being laid down by Mercedes. I know it's only practice 2, but that car's looking a bit better than I thought it would be, if I'm going to be honest. And who's out on track right now? Well, only Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Daniel Ricciardo. I'll make sure, if all the cars go into the pits in a moment, I will then update the order again. Because it is slightly different to what it is on the screen. But it looks as though the drivers still out on track are still pushing. You have, who's this on track? That looks like Max Verstappen to me. Can't quite see, he's going so quick down that straight. Red Bull looks very, very just planted in turn 11 and 12. It really, really does. As, who is this? Yes, it is Verstappen, number 33. It's a bit wide at turn 13. And is this a fast lap or not? I think it is a fast lap, but I don't think he is actually going faster than he was. We'll have to see, though. Here he comes. And he does improve, but it's only a 23.7 when Hamilton is on a 23.1. So I think he could maybe do better than that. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton right now looking very quick. But is there really any surprise? He is the best driver in Formula 1. That's my opinion, of course. But he is the best driver in Formula 1 in my opinion. And is super hard to beat right now. Right, let me just quickly read through the chat. Let's read through the chat to see what you guys are saying. Crystal Racing saying Mercedes, quote, half a second slower than Ferrari. Yeah, right. They were never half a second slower. From what I saw at testing, it was at most a quarter of a second in Ferrari's favour. So, yeah, anyone who believes that is very gullible, I think. As Ricciardo is on another qualifying-esque lap. He now comes into 13. Car looks good. How's it turn in? Pretty good. Not as good as the Red Bull or the Ferrari, but looks pretty good. There's some smoke puffing up the back for some reason. Let's hope that's not an issue. He's had plenty of those. And opens the DRS on the pit straight and now goes... Where does he go? He doesn't improve at all. He was actually 0.6 of a second slower on that lap compared to his fastest lap so far. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update the running order again because everyone is in the pits except for Daniel Ricciardo, and Ricciardo has slowed down. So I'm going to update this running order quickly. So it is absolutely correct. As Ricciardo, yeah, is slowing down. He is probably going to come back to the pits to put on some tyres. By the way, Williams are so far off the pace. Russell is 4.5 seconds behind Hamilton and Kubica is 5.2. They're about 1.5 seconds off the back of the midfield. They're not in the midfield, are Williams. They're not in the midfield at all. They're in another stratosphere at the back of the grid. Right, Räikkönen. Then Ricciardo in P11. There's definitely more to come from Renault, surely. There's no way they are P9 and P11 for this Grand Prix. Surely not. Can't be. Right. Just getting into the final knockings of this order. Norris is on the track, so that probably means he's just going to destroy what I'm doing right now, but there you go. Let me just finish this off. McLaren in the positions right now, not looking good. Norris is 15th and Carlos Sainz is 16th. That's not exactly progress, is it? Definitely not progress at all. But we've still got plenty of time left for them to improve on that. As I now finish up this order. So there you go. That is the new running order as Lando Norris starts his or a new flying lap on the medium compound tyres. How does it look through turn number 5? Not bad. Already a second down on Lewis Hamilton after one sector. That is embarrassing for a team like McLaren, but that's just the way it's gone. Into the bumpy turn 9, I think it is, or turn 8. And now he comes up to the end of the middle sector and is now 1.5 seconds behind Hamilton. Just shows you the difference between Hamilton and, or between the Mercedes and the McLaren. They're both on the same tyres, and McLaren are about, what, 2.5 seconds off the pace. And Mercedes are probably sandbagging quite a lot. As McLaren of Norris now comes into the final corner, and it's not snapping away from him, but it doesn't look that good. And he's not improving on what he's done so far. And no, hasn't improved any of his sectors and stays in P15 as Romain Grosjean is improving in P8. Haas looking good, P4 and P8. And Grosjean, by the way, is on the fastest tyre. So this is a qualifying simulation lap. He opens the DRS. And where will he go? He goes P4 for Haas. Good lap. Good lap there for Romain Grosjean. And now Antonio Giovinazzi is on the soft tyre. We're now getting into the qualifying simulations. This is really where it gets good in practice. This is why practice 2 is the most important practice session of the weekend. Because it's held in the most representative conditions, and because of the time of day, you can really get a good sense of how your car is, you know, in those type of conditions. As Antonio Giovinazzi comes through the final corner, opens up the DRS, and he goes P5. Good lap. That's a good lap. But I'll be interested to see where Kimi Räikkönen goes. Räikkönen is currently P11. He's not on track, but plenty of drivers are now coming out onto the track. Adrian Newey there, studying his latest piece of art. TD Emmanuel. McLaren are not a big team anymore. They don't perform like one. Crystal Racing, indeed, best chassis on the grid. As Pierre Gasly is now on a qualifying simulation on the fastest tyre. He's a 10th down on Lewis Hamilton after sector 1. Now comes into this bumpy braking zone. Very hard this corner. The Red Bull, though, looks perfect over the bumps. Nowhere near the wall. That's not because he's not trying hard enough. That's because the Red Bull is just that good. And then Sky F1 go to an ad break. Yeah. Again, this is why I normally do not do practice watch-alongs, because Sky do this to us. They throw an advert in at the wrong time. Let me see if I can hold a minute. On my Skybox, let me see if I can try and get into Sky F1 into their red button. I don't think I can. I think you need to be I think you need to do it whilst it's not on an ad break. But yeah, very, very frustrating. Oh no, I've got it. Right, so now I can solve that issue. Right, so Pierre Gasly just went up to P3. Charles Leclerc is now on a, I think it's a qualifying simulation lap, but I think it is an out lap at the minute. I've got a couple on boards up here. Stroll heading towards the line. Where will he go? 6th. Pretty good lap. Pretty good. By Stroll. He went ahead of Giovinazzi. That's pretty good. Leclerc is on a lap, but he's not setting fastest sectors on the fastest compound of tyre. Very interesting. As he now heads to the line, where does he go? He goes only 5th. He must have made a mistake or backed off. There's no way they're that slow. Nib saying Haas do really look good. They do look good. As Nico Hülkenberg is now coming to the line. Oh, he almost crashed in the final corner and there was a big puff of smoke out the back of the Renault. Hülkenberg goes P4. Great lap by Nico Hülkenberg. The Renault has finally revealed its pace. Sebastian Vettel is still in... Oh no, he's gone up to 4th. Kvyat is up to 9th. Kimi Räikkönen is just in the fastest middle sector. Surely Kimi Räikkönen is not going to go fastest. Let's see. Through the final corner on the red soft tyre. Where does Kimi Räikkönen go? He goes P5, only 4 tenths behind Hamilton, but Hamilton's fastest lap was on a set of mediums, which is the yellow marked compound of tyre. Now is a replay of Hülkenberg. There's some kind of issue with the Renault. It's pouring smoke out of the back. It happened with Ricciardo and now Hülkenberg. That might be an oil, an overfill on the oil, or that might be an issue. I don't know. Let me know, guys, in the chat whether you think that's an issue or not. Knowing Renault, it's probably a V6 turbo about to blow itself to smithereens. But let's hope not, shall we? As Sebastian Vettel is currently on a slowdown lap. I'm watching the Sky F1 red button where they have a main screen and then a couple on boards. On board with Vettel right now. And yeah, he's just cruising through turn 12. Perez, what's Perez doing? Quite a good first sector by Perez on the soft tyre. Let me see if Sky have come back from that ad break. Surely they have. Let's have a look. Surely Sky have... Yeah, they have. So let me go back to high definition and not 2005. And here we are. So Sergio Pérez coming up to the... turn 11 and 12, only half a second behind Hamilton. The racing point, even though they are faster tyres than the two Mercedes were, it's looking pretty good once they get the pace out of it. As Perez now comes up to the penultimate corner. Oh, big correction by Perez, and the lap is blown. By the way, if you're wondering why there's no new picture on the screen, I am actually trying to find one. I just cannot find one at the moment. Once I find one, it'll be on the screen, no doubt about it. As replay. Also, Sergio Pérez, the reason he had a big correction was because he touched the grass on the outside. We're seeing a replay here of... Who is that? That's a Toro Rosso of Albon, I think, going through the gravel at turn 3. As we're now watching from Martin Brundle's point of view, as he's watching at turn 11 and 12. And the Alpha that just went through there looked brilliant. And yeah, I can see why Nib thinks the Haas looks good. It just came through looking almost perfect. Right, still no new pictures. That's unfortunate. As is this Hamilton on a... No, Lewis Hamilton is on an outlap, I believe. Or is this Bottas? Is that Bottas? It's Bottas. Let's see what Bottas can do on the fastest compound of tyre, because we know that this team tends to be a bit iffy on the fastest compound. So let's see what they do as Valtteri Bottas now powers down to turn 1. How does he do? Oh, that car looks good. They might be slower than Ferrari, but not by much. As he now comes into turn 3. And all rear end wanted to step out, but he corrected it. And it was bumping over the cubs there. Into turn 5. Perfect there for Valtteri Bottas. And the Mercedes sparking away so nicely. As now they come up to the very bumpy turn... Is it turn 8 or turn 9? I can't remember. It's either one of those two. But I do know the fast left-right chicane that Valtteri Bottas is coming up to is turns number 11 and turns number 12. And here he comes. Oh, he looks very, very good. And opens the DRS down to turn 13. As Hamilton is now on an outlap. And here comes Bottas. Bang on in 13. Bang on in 4. Oh no, not bang on in 14. The car wanted to go away from him. Slightly wide in the penultimate corner. Last corner is perfect. And now heads to the line. How quick is Bottas? He goes fastest on a 20. Is that a 22.6? Or a 22.5? That's a blistering lap time from Bottas. A 22.6. If Hamilton can go faster than that, then we're going to have a great time from Hamilton. I tell you, that car looks a lot better than it looked to me in testing. It didn't look bad. It looked quick in testing from what I saw at the second test, but it does look really, really quick in the fast corners. That is one hell of a lap time. It's now Lewis Hamilton is now... No, he's not going to. He was going to, but he teased us all and now backs off. For some reason. By the way, Ferrari are P4 and P8. And Hamilton and Vettel are just cruising around on the fastest compound of tyre. Either they're struggling for tyre temperature or they're deliberately not... Or deliberately trying to not set a good lap time. As now Vettel is just stuck behind Hamilton there. Right, let me show this picture of this car just so you guys don't think I'm being biased or, you know, think I'm forgetting that they are around. I'm not forgetting. They are on track doing rather slow lap times. Hold on, let me try and find a picture of it as Vettel. I hope he's not cruising back to the pits and that's his only effort. I don't know why Lewis Hamilton backed off there. Turn 1 and turn 2 was perfect. I don't know why he backed off. Didn't need to. Unless he was told not to reveal how quick he could actually go. As Daniel Ricciardo is now on a qualifying simulation. There you go. There is Williams. They're trying, but it's not good enough. Right, so Ricciardo is only half a second behind Bottas. After 2 sectors. That's pretty good, if you ask me. He now comes into the penultimate corner, turn 15. And now comes into the final corner. Renault looks bang on in that corner, doesn't have to run wide, and now runs to the line and does a 23.6, drops a bit of time and goes behind his teammate and Kimi Räikkönen. So, yeah. Not bad though from Renault. They're only 2 tenths behind Pierre Gasly and they're both ahead of Max Verstappen. But now here comes Lewis Hamilton. He's going for it now. Comes through turns 11 and 12. Car looks nailed to the track as it normally does. And he comes down to turn 13. And comes through 14. To me, it doesn't look like he's pushing that hard. Not as hard as Bottas was, unless he's backing off to save a bit. Here comes Lewis Hamilton to the line, and does he go fastest? Yes, he does. He does a 22.6 as well, but he does exactly a 1 minute 22.6. So Hamilton about half a tenth ahead of Bottas. Well, after all the pre-season talk, we have Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas separated by half a tenth, and then Pierre Gasly in third, 8 tenths of a second behind, with Sebastian Vettel. Of course, it's only practice. This means nothing. But we said that, and I also said in my pre-season preview, or my season preview rather, that's in the chat below, do not count this team out. And here is exactly why. Because they can just, you know, come out of nowhere and produce the results needed. Right. And I think that is now the end of the qualifying simulations. I am not going to update the order until I know that for sure, once everyone's pitted and then starts lapping 5 seconds off the pace. But to the people watching at this time in the morning, there's 200 of you. Thank you so much for coming along. Great to see you hardcore F1 fans being so dedicated. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. This time tomorrow, I'll be live for the qualifying watch along, and I cannot wait for that tomorrow morning. So don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe for more content like this. And also, of course, hit the notifications bell. So the only drivers on track are Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen and Robert Kubica. Kubica is now pitting. Kubica is last, 4 seconds behind Hamilton. Williams looking crap. No real surprise there. Right, let me try and find, yeah, perfect. I found a very good picture of Lewis Hamilton. As now we only have the 2 Mercedes and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen on circuit. By the way, the weather at the track right now is going to be the same, but a bit hotter on Sunday. So these are very good conditions to see, you know, how the tyres are doing and all of that stuff. But, right. Let me just fiddle around with this quickly. This should not take that long. There you go. Lewis Hamilton hard at work in his Mercedes and is going to end fastest of all again. But I feel as though Ferrari have a lot more to show. And as Nib says in the chat, great turnout, guys. Thanks for joining. So happy F1 is back. Absolutely. It is such a good thing that Formula 1 is back. And Max Verstappen, to me, looks as though he's now on his race simulation. So I think now I will update the running order for the final time. Because everyone now, if you're new to F1, what happens in practice 2 is in the first half of the 90 minutes, say the first 45 minutes, everyone concentrates on their qualifying simulations. And then in the second half of practice 2, everyone loads the car out of fuel and then tries to see how quick their car is in a race simulation. So now it is race simulation time. By the way, I'm not I'm not trying to make a point, but Vettel is only a 10th faster than Kimi Räikkönen. But that's most likely because Ferrari are not really trying that hard. As is Hamilton going for another qualifying lap? He looks as though he is. Very bumpy down the pit straight. And, oh yeah, this is definitely a qualifying lap. Let's wait and let's have a look at this. So Hamilton down to turn 3. And not amazing, but pretty good. Mercedes at high speed looks pretty good. And no, this doesn't look that good of a lap. He's already a 10th and a half down on Valtteri Bottas, even though he is fastest, Lewis Hamilton. Thank you to Crystal Racing for enjoying the stream. I am actually enjoying this a lot. Maybe I'll do this permanently, but I want to see what you guys say in the chat, the comment section, and the support this video gets before I make a decision like that. But I am likely to do this again for Monaco because Monaco, of course, practice takes place on a Thursday. It's a bit of a weird weekend. Sultan says, thank you for streaming. No problem. Always a pleasure. Hamilton is about to go... Is he going to go in the pit lane? Yes, he is. He looked unsure of where he wanted to go, but he has decided that he wants to go back into the garage. But now I'm going to update the order for the final time because I now believe that is it for the qualifying simulations, unless someone else wants to do another quali sim lap. Hopefully not, because I think we've had enough of that, even though I'd love to watch it all day long. So I'm now going to update the order for the final time. By the way, let me know about this whole running order thing along the bottom of the screen. Do you like it? Do you not? Let me know, because feedback is always great to have. Right, let me now, in the next 2 minutes, update it, and then we can watch the final 35 minutes of the race simulations together. Right. So, and then I don't know what happened to Max Verstappen, but he's ended up for some reason in P8. Don't know why. Looking pretty quick, but he's ended up P8. Also, Gasly looking a bit better in practice. In practice 2, but one team that clearly is not going as fast as they can, surely, is Ferrari. That is surely not their pace. There's no way they're that slow. Right. Also, Toro Rosso seem to have dropped back from their impressive pace early on. Haas have also dropped back a bit. The running order is about where we thought it would be. You know, in the midfield, Alfa Romeo, Renault, Haas, Toro Rosso. It is about where we thought it would be, so there's no massive surprises. The only surprise I can see right now is that Mercedes are better than we thought they were. But everything else looks about what we thought was going to happen so far at the Australian Grand Prix weekend. Right. So Sky have gone to another ad break, but that doesn't stop me because now I can press the red button. And then I'll complete the order quickly. Right. So let me just quickly complete it for the final time. And then we'll get back into some race simulation action and see how the cars are looking. As I now come to the end here. Also, guys, let me know what you've thought of this practice watch along, whether you want to see me do this again. Let me know in the comments as well. And let me know how you've enjoyed practice 2 as well. McLaren 17th and 18th. Wow. That's not progress. That's, well, exactly where you were. Right, I think that's it. So there you go. That is basically the order in practice 2. That's probably going to be the finishing order. As Sky F1 are on their break, I will now quickly go on the red button and have a look at some onboards of Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo Racing Ferrari and Lance Stroll in the Racing Point, a million sponsors / Mercedes. Matt Firefly says, please do this again. Found your channel and subscribe from this. Thank you very much for subscribing and thank you for that. I'll consider it for sure for Bahrain and beyond. As it's not Raikkonen, is it? No, it's Giovinazzi. So Stroll in the Racing Point. The cars, they definitely got race fuel on, but they look like they're pushing pretty hard, especially Lance Stroll. So they're still giving it some with 30 minutes left in practice 2. And, well, it's great to have Formula 1 back. I'll admit, the first practice I didn't think was that interesting. But definitely practice 2 was good. Or it has been good. So far, I'm now going to get Lewis Hamilton off the screen, even though that's a cracking picture. I'm now going to put Toro Rosso on, because why not? So there you go. That is... Who is that? I think that is Kvyat. Don't quote me on that, though. Mike Brown, it's summertime in Oz right now. It won't rain in Quali tomorrow. Yeah, Nib has actually checked the weather for us, and it's going to be sunny tomorrow and Sunday, so don't worry about weather. It's going to be the best weather it basically can be. Mugen Mafia, do this for Kota, Texas. This is actually pretty cool. I will join the session for a race you do. Thank you very much. Hopefully I do see you tomorrow morning for qualifying and also Sunday. As McLaren look as though they're on now a qualifying simulation, so that's completely ruined my my running order. As Sainz goes, yeah, he ruins my running order by going up to 14th, I think that is. Let's see if Sky F1, yeah, Sky F1 are back from their ad break. So let's now, for the final half an hour, watch practice 2. Lando Norris comes to the line and stays 18th. Pretty bad for McLaren so far. I don't know what program McLaren are running. They're still slow and they're still trying to go a bit faster, but they're not really going to get any reward out of it. Right, now that Sainz has gone into that position, I'll quickly update the order. So Sainz is now in 14th I think that's where he was in practice 1, so it looks as though McLaren have no realistic hope of getting a point. Or in other words, the second half of their 2018. Right. So I will say as well, Racing Point looking slightly better. Ever so slightly better than I thought they were. Right. There you go. So Sainz in 14th and Norris is only 18th and there's about 0.6 of a second gap. As Alexander Albon is in the first sector. Mike says no ads on F1 TV. I don't have F1 TV, unfortunately. The good thing is with Sky, they don't have any ad breaks during qualifying or the race. But in practice, I guess because it's only practice, they take what, 3 ad breaks per, or 4 per session. Don Moody says Chaz, excellent. Would definitely tune in again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for tuning in. And yeah, I'll definitely consider doing this again. As Albon in the Toro Rosso is coming up to the penultimate corner on his race simulation. Bit of corrections going on to the final corner. I'll try to keep an eye on what lap times people are doing on their race simulations, but let's be honest, it is pretty hard to do so. Because they're not being properly recorded by FOM, so how can we properly record them? Right. So everyone is out on track except for Sainz, Norris, Verstappen, and Hamilton. And by the way, the only drivers to set the fastest lap on anything other rather than the soft is Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon. So that explains why Verstappen is P8. He, on the proper, soft compound, will be P3. And Albon, P17, would probably be P12 or 13. As now, what do we have? We have the Racing Point of Sergio Pérez, following closely Robert Kubica in the caravan. He'll want to pass this caravan in the right-hand lane. There he goes. And is now into turn 13. As I'm watching the Sky F1 broadcast, and Martin Brundle is watching very closely at the penultimate corner. But yeah, we have 26 minutes left in practice 2. By the way, just to let you guys know what the plan is for the rest of the stream. So we're going to continue to the end of practice 2. Then I will show the final running order with a graphic I've found on Twitter. I'll throw that on the screen. And then quickly, I'll review what the teams have done. And I'll show probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 pictures of what has happened in practice. As, yeah, the car's looking a lot slower compared to their qualifying laps. They're not looking very slow, but you could also, when you're at testing, you could notice the difference between a qualifying lap and a race simulation lap. As Hamilton and Bottas are on outlaps. If that Williams of Russell, if he's pushing as hard as he can on his race simulation, then that is horrible. As vortices are coming out of the rear wing of the Williams. It turns in like a granddad into turn 14. Oh my god, what a terrible, terrible car. Williams will be hoping that the same thing that happened to the 2008 Honda at the end of that season happens to that car. It just sets on fire for no reason because it is that bad of a car. Oh my. What a terrible car. And the Ferrari's right behind it. And the Ferrari looks like it's in a different formula compared to that Williams. Mugen Mafia says, really don't think we will see what Ferrari has until tomorrow. I agree. They did the same thing last year. Exactly. Well, they did the same thing at almost every race last year. They were always conservative on a Friday, amazing on a Saturday, good on a Sunday, but not good enough. Who is this? This is a Haas of Kevin Magnussen. I will say, though, it's very, very tight in the midfield. You do have Gasly. From Gasly until Magnussen in P12, that's P3 to P12, there is only half a second separating those drivers. Verstappen, though, in P8 again was on the medium, so he probably would be half a second behind Lewis Hamilton in P3. But from Gasly down, half a second between 8 cars. That is what we want to see in Formula 1. Close competition and racing. As we're now on board with K-Mag. Haas, how does it look? Looks fine. No real corrections. Looks easy to drive. And the lap times are about okay for what you would expect of the Haas on a race simulation. Kvyat is now coming through the final few corners. And I noticed this at testing, but the Toro Rosso looks very balanced on a race run. It looked very balanced in testing, and it looks the same in Melbourne. Very comfortable to drive, especially compared to say, qualifying laps. And I'm just seeing, by the way, on Twitter that the F1 teams are set to meet on March the 26th in London for a rules summit for 2021, where they'll discuss 2021 for an hour and come out with nothing. That's what normally happens in Formula 1. They talk and then nothing gets solved. Let me now put this picture on the screen. It's a pretty good one. It really shows how great the weather is at Albert Park, and it also shows the life of Melbourne. The life, I think, of Melbourne. I think that's what it shows. So let me get that up if I can. There you go. Let me just fiddle around with it quickly. Raise this up like that. That is a great picture, and that's pretty much describes the great scenery of the Australian Grand Prix in pretty much one picture. But we are now into the final 20 minutes of the practice session. The Toro Rosso also, I think right now, is lapping quicker than the Haas is on its race runs. Also to Toro Rosso off the track at the penultimate corner. Just as I said, it looks settled, and it's Albon again. That's the third mistake he's made today. He has to calm down. He's making way too many errors for his first practice day in F1. I just wanted to say, Ultraman, please don't ban people at the moment, because I don't see anything bad in the chat, so just leave it alone for the time being. And Albon made a rookie mistake, touched the grass, and went on to the bigger piece of grass on the exit of the penultimate corner. Niblo, who's who is at the track and is usually on the podcast, says, "It is a bloody beautiful day. It's not this great all the time. All feel free to roast me about getting a selfie with Claire. Oh my." Well, I'm sure your opinion of Williams will not be as harsh once we talk again. Who's this? This is a McLaren. Oh no, it's not a McLaren. It's Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Ferrari looks pretty good. Yeah, the Ferrari looks very settled, front to rear. It doesn't look that hard to drive. We're also got an on board here of a Red Bull of Verstappen, I think it is. Ferrari and Red Bull cars are definitely the best aerodynamically. Whether they have the raw speed, that raw mechanical speed, that raw mechanical grip, we'll have to see in qualifying. But aerodynamically, or technically, the Ferrari and the Red Bull are the best. In F1, as a Red Bull gets held up by an Alpha. Right. Crystal Racing says political / corporate interest clash between teams. Yeah, and that's why they always come away with exactly what they brought to the meeting. Nothing. Right, so who we got here? This is a Renault of Nico Hülkenberg coming down to turn 1. The Renault, in testing, from what I saw, looked very balanced, like the Toro Rosso. Looked a bit quicker on its race simulations, but looked balanced. Nicely balanced. This is... Who is that? In the Red Bull, that is Max Verstappen. He's backing off, though, because he was held up by an Alpha. And now he's going to hold up a Ferrari, if he's not careful. By the way, if you're just tuning in, the running order along the bottom of the screen, that is the current running order in FP2 and is likely to be the running order at the end of FP2 because we are now into the race simulations where they lap basically 7 seconds off the pace. As we're about 15 minutes away from the end of this session as Max Verstappen gets back into... is this a qualifying simulation? He's on the faster compound tyre. Let's see. Let's see what his first sector time is. This can't be a qualifying simulation. Surely not. Oh, it is. It is. He's 1/4 of a second down on Hamilton in the first sector. Where will he be in the middle sector? Red Bull just looks so easy to drive in those corners, and now comes up to turn 11 and 12 and is 1/2 a second down on Hamilton in the middle sector. And now Verstappen comes down to turn number 13. Oh, runs slightly too wide there. Should have been a bit tighter on the corner. Turn 14 looks fine. 15. Oh, a bit too wide. This is not really going to be an improvement, I don't think. And then slightly too wide at the final corner. Where does he go? Max Verstappen. Well, he does go P3, but it's not that great of a lap. He's exactly 0.8 of a second behind Lewis Hamilton. But, yeah, not that great of a lap. But the Red Bull looking quick. So... that means that I need to update the pecking order again. So let me do that quickly as I go to another ad break. So Red Bull 3rd and 4th. They would have took that at the end of free practice Friday in Melbourne. Right. Vettel, then you got in 5th, then Kimi Räikkönen in 6th. Kimi looking as good as he ever has. And then you've got Hülkenberg in 8th. And then Daniel Ricciardo, the homeboy, rather, in 8th. And then 9th, Leclerc, 10th, Grosjean, 11th, Kvyat, 12th, Magnussen, 13th is Stroll, 14th is Sainz, 15th, Giovinazzi, 16th, Perez, 17th, Albon, 18th, Norris, and then the 2 Williams at the back. Russell ahead of Kubica. So there you go. John Moody says this has been fantastic. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to try, if I can, to find another picture. I think the time requires one. We've got one at the Red Bull here, I think. Yep, we have. Looks pretty good, this Red Bull in the Aussie sun. So I'll let you see what I'm on about. Right. So here we go. The Red Bull looking very good. That is, I believe that is Max Verstappen. Normally, guys, how I tell which driver it is, I normally either look at the helmet or I look at the driver number. I think that's Verstappen, but knowing me, it's probably Pierre Gasly. But there you go. There is a Red Bull. Divian asks, what is Hamilton's top time? It is a 1 minute 22.6 exactly. And then Bottas is on a 1:22.6, 5 something or other. He's about half a tenth behind, and then Verstappen is exactly 0.8 of a second behind Hamilton. Memic, Williams sandbagging as always. Let's hope. Mike Brown, after testing, I didn't think Red Bull would be 3rd and 4th. That's down to Ferrari not pushing. As Nib has just been saying in the chat, Ferrari not pushing and running fuel today. We will see more FP3 when they have to take fuel out of the car. Exactly. In FP3, you'll really see Ferrari giving it some. No doubt about it. Ultraman says, looks like Toro Rosso might have some problems. I wouldn't know because we're currently on an ad break in England. And now we are back to Valtteri Bottas in the final corner. Right behind Daniel Ricciardo, I believe, in the Renault, yes. Bottas, DRS and slipstream, and dives down the inside, does he? No, he doesn't. Hangs back. Right, so we've got about 10 minutes to go. And then we will be at the end of practice 2. And then don't forget, guys, I will show the final results once I get them. And we'll go through the teams and do a quick review of what's happened. As Giovinazzi does what Albon and Bottas and Perez and plenty of drivers have done at the penultimate corner. And that's touch the grass on the outside and spin. Or almost spin. As... who is this? This is the Haas of Romain Grosjean down into turn 3. On the medium compound they are. Hopefully they're getting good enough data. The Haas didn't look that good over that exit curve at turn 4. One area Haas were very weak in was race pace in 2018. And that's one thing they got to improve. I think qualifying pace, I think Haas are going to be good. But race pace wise, they cannot slip back the way they did, in 2018 compared to their qualifying performance. They've got to maintain a similar type of pace, if they can, of course. But the Haas so far looks all right. Nothing special though. I've seen better in those corners. Interestingly, the only driver not on track is Kevin Magnussen, so there must be some kind of issue. Bottas is now in the pits. Kvyat is now on an outlap as we are now officially 10 minutes away from the end. Grosjean, followed by a Ferrari of, I think, Charles Leclerc. Yeah, the Haas looks alright in these race simulations, but it looked a lot better in the qualifying simulations. Not because they were going quicker, but it just looks a bit more active in a good way. On the quali sims than it did the race sims. As who is this? Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Ferrari again looks very balanced, front to rear. And there is no doubt they have a lot more to reveal in the next practice session, practice 3, which is tomorrow. Right. Right. Just under 9 minutes to go. Let's see what Charles Leclerc is doing for lap time as he comes into the penultimate corner and swings it into the final one. A good debut so far for Charles Leclerc. No real mistakes. He's I think he's done pretty much what he's been expected to do. So yeah, good for Charles Leclerc. And the Ferrari looks pretty good as well. As Hülkenberg locks up going into turn 14, but keeps it on the track as he was followed closely by Gasly, who now can smell the beautiful smell of burning rubber. And now we have Bottas coming down into turn number 3. Looking a bit loose at the rear end on the exit. Yeah, a bit loose there on the rear end of Valtteri Bottas. But okay for Mercedes at the moment. Of course, a 1-2. That's exactly what they want going forward. By the way, I know it's a bit later on now, but thank you guys for coming along for this. Thank you guys for being so dedicated and coming at this time. I know it is very early or late, no matter where you're on the world. So yeah, thanks for coming along and being a part of this. It has been a lot of fun, and I have been live for 2.5 hours, and it feels like I've been live for 5 minutes. And that's normally a sign that this stream has been very good. As Bottas is now coming into the final corner. Oh no, penultimate corner. Now the final corner. And yeah, Mercedes looks alright, but it doesn't look as good as the Ferrari or the Red Bull, handling-wise, on the race simulations. Yeah, not amazing by Mercedes here. As Bottas goes down into turn 3. Now we have Giovinazzi, who is on our TV screens going into turn 11 and now turn number 12. Giovinazzi P15. That's not going to cut it tomorrow in qualifying, I can tell you that. That Alfa Romeo should be in the top 10. So, yeah. He does have to improve tomorrow qualifying pace-wise. Joe Hart PWD says, thank you for the stream, no problem. Thank you very much for coming along. Scotty says, I had to leave for a while now, or how did Max do in Sesh 2? He did okay in the first part of practice 2. He was on the medium compound tyre, and then went up to 3rd because he finally went on the red marked soft tyre. So he's now P3, but his lap to get up to P3 wasn't that good. He could have gone at least a quarter of a second faster, I think. Yeah, a good day's work for Max Verstappen as we're now 5 minutes away from the end of the first day of practice in 2019. And don't worry, there is going to be plenty more practice as Williams goes off the track for the first of a million times this season. I don't know who it is. I think it was Kubica, but Williams just went straight on at turn 3. Divian, why is Leclerc so slow in 9th? Because Ferrari are not pushing that hard. In practice 3 tomorrow, they'll start to push. But yeah, they're not trying that hard right now. Crystal Racing says, I can imagine Williams downscaling and doing a Haas by buying Mercedes parts. They should do that, but as Claire Williams said in the Netflix documentary, over my dead body. Well, it might have to be if the team's going to be saved at this rate. Because if they don't get help from a Mercedes, then how are they going to survive? I don't see how they do. Alexander Albon is now on the TV on the softest compound on his race simulations. Again, Toro Rosso looks nicely settled. If only Alexander Albon didn't make so many mistakes, like losing his front wing, going off in a gravel trap, and then going off at the penultimate corner, maybe it'd be a good day's work, but it hasn't. He's 17th and he's made too many mistakes today. And that looks pretty, yeah, it looks pretty good from Toro Rosso. Now we are on board with this nice looking camera of Lewis Hamilton on an out lap. Surely he's not going to go for a qualifying lap. I hope he is. I want to see some real proper pace. He is on, or he's not going to go for a qualifying lap because he is on the yellow marked tyre. If he goes faster on that tyre, then I really would be impressed, but it's not going to happen. There's no way he's going to do that, and yeah, he's not going to because his DRS isn't even open in a DRS zone. Right. I think I'm just going to keep this picture on the screen for now because we're only 2.5 minutes away from the end of practice 2. I've already got the results graphic queued up. And yeah, Hamilton is just on a fast race simulation. I guess he's trying to practice a first lap. Gotti says, what about the upgrades that Red Bull couldn't get ready for pre-season practice, but are somehow here before China? Well, no, they were supposed to be for... Oh, hold on. A Ferrari is... Charles Leclerc is pointing the wrong way on the entry to turn 5. How has he ended up there? He's stuck on the grass. Well, he better start spinning because as his teammate passes it, I want to see how that happened. By the way, thank you again to Don Moody for that, saying awesome job, Chaz. Thank you very much. Let's see how this happens. So Charles Leclerc went into turn 3. Bit of understeer. Wow, that was weird. Either he hit that or straddled the exit too hard, or the car just snapped. I don't know what happened there. I want to see like an outer body camera shot of that because I don't think the onboard really shows what happened. He did hit the curb, but what part of it did he hit? Did he hit the that really not the curb, but you know, that high bit on the curb? Did he hit that? Is that what caused it? I think it probably is what caused it. But yeah, that's not the way you want to end practice 2, but there you go. Right. Now we are 15 seconds away from the end of practice 2. As Verstappen is pitted. Gasly's now pitted. 2 Renaults are going to bring it home. P7 and P8 in practice 2. That's a good day's job, in my opinion. So there you go. Practice 2 has officially ended. We now wait for all the teams to complete their final laps or go back into the pits. And unless Carlos Sainz does an amazing qualifying lap, because he is on an out lap. Oh no, he's not going to do one now because the checkered flag has gone. So now I will relinquish that and now show you the finishing order of practice 2. Let me get that up. There you go. So the finishing order in practice 2 is Lewis Hamilton has finished fastest for the second practice session in a row in Melbourne. Bottas is second, Verstappen is third, Gasly is fourth, Vettel is fifth, Räikkönen is in P6, Hülkenberg is P7, Ricciardo is P8, Leclerc is P9, Grosjean is P10, Kvyat is P11, Magnussen is P12, Stroll is 13th, Sainz is 14th, 15th is Giovinazzi, 16th is Perez, 17th is Albon, 18th is Norris, and then 2 Williamses, almost 2 seconds behind Norris in 19th and 20th. They are desperately, desperately slow. So there you go. That is your order in practice 2. As the cars are now towing their way back into the pit lane. Yep, everyone's finished their laps. So now I'm going to get a couple images up to just talk about the teams and, what I thought of them. So let me get up a picture now of the Mercedes. Let me just get it up now, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. Well, not as bad as we thought not as bad as we thought they were. We thought this team was on the back foot coming into Melbourne. Now, we haven't seen how quick Ferrari can be. I think Ferrari can be very quick. But I think this team is a lot closer to Ferrari than people think. The gap is not half a second. It's at most Ferrari, in Ferrari's favour, it's at most a quarter of a second. It is not half a second. This team around this track looks very quick, especially around the fast corners. And don't be surprised if they are right up there in qualifying with Lewis Hamilton, maybe getting pole position. They look pretty confident so far. But of course, we do need to see how Ferrari will do tomorrow when they actually reveal how quick they really are. And it is likely to be very. But of course, we have to see. But now I'll just quickly get a picture up of Ferrari. By the way, I'm not going to be on for very long because my throat feels like it's on fire. I said it was sore, but it feels like it is literally like a flaming inferno. There is Ferrari. Now, they are definitely not pushing as hard as they can. They are not 0.8 of a second behind Mercedes. There is no way that is possible. Tomorrow, in practice 3, will be the most representative practice session for Ferrari's pace, and they should really impress. And then in qualifying, I am expecting Ferrari to just absolutely go for it. And I cannot wait to see how quick this car is. I think it is right there with Mercedes. But whether they can get pole, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, Ferrari, we need to see more. They're not showing us what they actually have. And it's a bit of a shame, but if you're confident in what you have, then you might as well do this, because then you can keep the others guessing as to how quick your car actually is. So there you go. But now I will bring up the Red Bull. Let me just get that up a minute. Right, here you go. Now, Red Bull, their car looks good. But I think in terms of qualifying pace, I expect them to be about as far off pole position as they were in 2018. They were about a second off in 2018. At best, I think they'll be 8 or 9 tenths off like they were in practice today. I just don't think in terms of qualifying pace, I don't think they have enough to compete for pole position. I think for the race though, they do have what it takes to get a podium. But when it comes to pole position or a second row start, I don't think the Red Bull car is quite good enough. So when it comes to qualifying tomorrow, if I was you and you are a Red Bull fan, I would expect a third row starting position for the Grand Prix. By the way, yes, my throat is very sore. That's why I sound like I'm cutting out. It is very, very sore. But yeah, Red Bull qualifying pace looking not that great, but I think the race pace is looking just about good enough, in my opinion. But now, we'll go on to the midfield. Now, I'm only going to show one picture from the midfield. I don't want to go through every single team. I'll do like a, a roundup of the teams. Let me just get up a picture of the Haas to put on the screen. Right, hold on a minute. Let me just get it up on the screen, trying to find the best one possible. And by the way, yes, I have seen the new shark fin on the Haas. It does look better. It does make the car look better. But they still could have done a better job with the paint work of the car. So here is the Haas. Well, let's go into the midfield. So Renault, looking good. Looking good. If they can start in that position for the Grand Prix, P7 and P8, and then go from there, they can have a successful enough Grand Prix in Melbourne for sure. But I think Kimi Räikkönen is going to be there to spoil their party in qualifying. Then, when it comes to McLaren to me look desperately slow. They look as slow as they were at the end of last season. They look as though they have the second slowest car. Kind of right there with Racing Point, but Racing Point kind of impressed me in practice too. So not looking good for McLaren. Alfa Romeo, they have the car, but it's really down to the drivers to get the pace out of the car. Kimi Räikkönen, I think, can get the pace out of the car. Giovinazzi hasn't yet got the pace out of the car. So hopefully he does. But with Kimi Räikkönen, I think they can expect a solid top 8 or 9 qualifying finish in qualifying tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully Giovinazzi improves because they could get both cars into Q3. The Haas, about where we expected. The Haas car does look good, but pace-wise, they are about where we expected. I think they will get a car into the top 10 in qualifying. It'll probably be Grosjean because he's very good at this track. But yeah, maybe not as good as they were hoping, but about where I expected. And then we go on to Toro Rosso. Their car crashed a lot today in practice. But pace-wise, I think it looks good. I think they could compete for Q3. And if you compare it to last year, the Toro Rosso car looks better than it did this time last year in the pecking order. So, looking good for Toro Rosso. Racing Point also look a bit better than I thought after practice 1. After practice 1, I thought, oh, this isn't looking that great. But after practice 2, car don't look that bad. So, yeah, not looking bad for Racing Point. And for Williams, well, they're crap. No surprise. Anyway, I think I will now, for the final... how long have we got? For the final 10 minutes, I will now go through the chat and read out as many comments as I can regarding practice 2 and what happened in the pecking order. Let me know in the chat right now and in the comment section, and I'll try to read through as many comments as I possibly can. Right. Let's now go through some comments. Right, we're just trying to find a starting point here. Mike Brown says quali would probably be a 1 minute 21 second silver arrow. Yeah, we're going to get down to the 1:21s, if not the 1 minute 20s, I think. There's a lot more to come from those cars. Vivian, qualifying is going to be a tight affair at the front. I think it will. I think the top 3 will be very close. Hamilton, Vettel and Leclerc. Crystal Racing, no Honda party mode then. They do have one, but it won't be able to to make up that difference. Nib says, Jesus Christ, good luck for the rest of the weekend without me. Yeah, my throat will suffer, but I'll soldier on. Nib also says McLaren, they were just not able to carry the speed through the turns 11 and 12. That's the fast left-right chicane. Yeah, their car doesn't look that good. Who else do we have here? Mugen says Alpha, Renault and Haas should be a good battle. Toro Rosso is fast, but they will take too many penalties. Right. Sebastian says, who do you think looks the best team right now? Coming out of practice 2, you'd have to say Mercedes, but we don't know what Ferrari can do. So, I don't know. Mercedes and Ferrari? I don't really know what to say. We don't know how quick Ferrari can be. So, I'll say both at the moment. Right. And Nib also wants to make a point on Williams. He says, Williams are actually a joke on their quick laps. It's like they're trying to save fuel going into the corner, but that's how rubbish the car is, that they have to drive like that. Or drive it like that. Yeah, it's just a dog of a car. Absolute dog of a car. Right. Let me go through some... Let me now go through a couple more comments before I come to the end here. My throat really is sore. So I don't want to stick around too long because I don't want to destroy my throat for tomorrow, but I obviously want to answer as many questions or comments as I possibly can. Gotti says, I hope things get better for Kubica. I hope things get better for the drivers at that team. Maverick DC, a person I actually do know. Too early to tell between the two. Saturday will show us. I can't wait to see the battle in qualifying between Ferrari and Mercedes. It's going to be very, very good. I cannot wait. Tonka Toy Truck says, had fun, let's do this more often. Maybe. Again, if this gets plenty of support, then I'll do it again. But I need to see, that people actually want this to be a permanent thing. A permanent thing on the channel. Right. Mike says, McLaren worse than what I expected. Yeah, for me, they're slightly worse than what I expected. I didn't expect them to be that good, to be honest. Good night, I guess, to Tonka Toy Truck, who is from Texas. So it's what, midnight or 1 AM in that part of the world. Yep, thanks for coming along, mate. Right. I think I will find one more comment and then I will end the stream. So let me find a final good comment if I can. Right, the final comment goes to Sebastian, who says, Ferrari are 100% sandbagging, but I don't know about Red Bull. Ferrari are definitely sandbagging. Red Bull, I don't think, are sandbagging that much. I think they're all sandbagging, let's be honest. But Red Bull are sandbagging a lot less than Ferrari. Ferrari are deliberately waiting to show how quick their car can be. But I think now, I will now come to the end of this stream. And it has, guys, been a very enjoyable one. And thanks to you guys for making this so enjoyable. So, yep, that is the end of this stream. Thank you guys for coming along. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. I will be live this time tomorrow morning with the qualifying watch along for, what, 2.5 hours? From 5 AM UK time until about 7:30 AM UK time. And then I'll be live again at 10 AM or 11 AM UK time on Saturday morning for the qualifying review. So there is plenty coming tomorrow morning, live content on the channel. So if you do want to be a part of that, don't forget to subscribe, join the team, click subscribe, bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe for more content like this. Just to let you guys know, there will not be an Australian Grand Prix preview because I just haven't found the time to do it. And also, I want to properly, design a format for these previews and, make sure I'm happy with them. So I'll try to do it for Bahrain, but I can't guarantee anything. But also, don't forget to like this video. Comment down below what you thought of this video. Comment down below also, would you like to see me do this again permanently during the season? If so, let me know in the comments. And also comment down below who you think is going to finish where in qualifying. Let me know in the comments and I'll try to reply to as many as I can later on once I've woken up after a very, very long sleep. And also, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. We have over 100 people in that server. It's a growing community over there. That's more where, say, the most dedicated people in the community are, in the Chazza HDF1 community are. So don't forget to go over there and join the Discord server. And also, it's the best place for notifications for my videos. If you want notifications in the best way and you are active enough in Discord, you shall get a better notification system than you do on this website. And also, if you look in the description where it says Chazza HDF1 F1 Fantasy League entry code, that is the code to enter into my Fantasy League. So if you want to enter, go to the website, the Fantasy League website, enter that code and you can join and set up your team and see if you can beat the rest of us. And as well, follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110, a great place to keep up to date with me on the channel. And check out my website, chazahd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until tomorrow at 5 AM UK time, live for the qualifying watch along, it has been me, ChazahD. Goodbye.